For years, I was using a traditional, bulky wallet that was uncomfortable to carry around. But then I got my hands on the Ekster wallet, and it changed my money and card-wielding habits forever. No longer am I sitting lopsided everywhere I go. In fact, this wallet is about half the size of my X wallet in every single way, and despite its low profile, it can hold a lot. You can access all your cards with a click of a button. I keep my money in this little pocket, other people keep it out here. It has RFID protection to keep you safe from issues like wireless theft. And if you lose your wallet, Ekster can track it anywhere in the world. They do this with their small trackable card so you know where your wallet is at all times. And they even make wallets with AirTag compatibility if that's more your thing. Luckily for you guys, they're about to have one of their biggest sales of the year with Black Friday, where you can get up to 55% off your purchase when you use my code JAMARI. Once again, that's code JAMARI at checkout, or you can use the link in the description or the pinned comment as well. Once again, thank you Ekster for sponsoring today's video. So when it comes to Disney movies, I've never really been someone who really cares to watch them. Like even when I was a kid, pretty much anything animated just didn't really appeal to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some classics like Finding Nemo, Ratatouille, that really sad one with the fox and the hound. But if someone asked me my favorite Disney movie, I would probably say Holes. Or maybe that Disney original where the kid is a baseball god, but the whole time he really just wants to bake. Either way, I know there are some adults out there who really wet their britches over Disney. And obviously with the way Disney is remaking their classic animations into these full-blown come-to-life films over the last couple of years, people have had mixed opinions on the way they have handled these revisions to these stories. In general, these live-action renditions are almost never received nearly as well as the originals. And with Snow White being the first full-length feature animation dating back to almost 100 years ago, a lot of people hold this movie near and dear to their heart, and it is widely considered by many to be one of, if not the greatest animated movie of all time. So now that it had come time to remake it, of course there was going to be some controversy surrounding the film, as the lead in the movie, the woman playing Snow White, who goes by the name Rachel Zegler, has been causing a ruckus, saying that this is the new rendition of this movie, and that there's going to be some major changes. Like for example, the 7 dwarfs, yeah, they're done. It's now the Justice League of Diversity. And listen, I'm not one of those guys that screams that everything is woke. In fact, the rumor on the street is I might get cast as the first Mexican Peter Pan. In all seriousness though, why would you change these dwarfs out? Like, is it considered politically incorrect? I actually want to see the dwarf community rise up and fight against this establishment. Also, the other major change, at least that we already are privy to, is that the fundamental love story is done, and that this movie is mainly going to be about women's empowerment. And so like I mentioned, a lot of people are very upset with this Rachel Zegler person. And it's really all been due to various interviews that she's done in anticipation for this Snow White movie coming out.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm so good.
Screen rant!
Yes!
Yay!
I feel like between West Side Story, Hunger Games, Shazam, Snow White, are you resting? No.
I haven't slept in a very long time, but yeah, you know.
Have you had them?
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but so far she's just giving me major theater kid energy. That is kind of a thing with actors and actresses. It's like, can you really have a genuine personality when you're always used to playing these various characters? Apparently, this woman also has a major role in the new Hunger Games movie, so I'm guessing they kinda think she's gonna be like the next big name in Hollywood. Either way, she goes on in this interview to show her admiration for the Snow White franchise and Disney in general.
Every day on Snow White was a pinch me moment. I was surrounded by the best crew and the best people ever, and even just getting to see our director Mark today was just like, oh right, we made a movie and it's really wonderful and it's yummy and it feels really delicious in my heart.
And so obviously there was nothing really wrong with this interview, but it's like the more she continues to talk about this Snow White movie, the more her story was just not really adding up. Like these next 2 clips I have to show you just kind of directly contradict each other. First she went on to Jimmy Kimmel last year, and she talks about kind of her history with Disney and the Snow White franchise.
Is that your favorite ride? I mean, that's a weird thing that you are Snow White now.
I mean, It's one of the original. I'm a really big Disney fan. I grew up at the Disney parks. My parents took me every summer.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's like, it's a part of my upbringing. It's my favorite thing, so.
So even right there, she seems like a good representation for Disney, a good representation to play Snow White. All she had shown up to this point was like love and admiration for the character, which I guess Disney fans, it's like a big deal for them, okay? Like, I guess for some people, this is like their Spider-Man, okay? I fuck with Spider-Man for like my whole life, and I don't really know how much I would care if someone came out with like a new Spider-Man movie and then like the lead actor was like, nah, I never really cared for the web slinger. Now, I will say, maybe if he was like shitting on that man Stan Lee, rest in peace, then we might have some problems. But either way, that story she just told our guy Jimmy goes directly against everything she's about to say in these other interviews.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. Doesn't sound like something a little kid would like. Was terrified of it. Never revisited Snow White again. So I watched it for the first time in probably 16, 17 years when I was doing this film.
And so I guess that's where people really started to have a problem with these contradicting stories, because on one hand she's saying, oh, I grew up on Disney, I know how big of a deal Snow White was, I'm so honored to get this role. But then she gets around this woman, and it's kind of my theory that like that's kind of why she's talking like this during these specific interviews, and she just completely changes her tune. She's like, nah, I never really saw the movie growing up, it actually kind of scared the shit out of me, so I really only saw it for the first time now that I got cast in it. And here's where she talks about the changes that come with this new rendition of Snow White.
The reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power. And so when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. And the reality is, you know, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
Also, the fact that she's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's the proactive one, and she's the one who set the terms, is what makes it so relevant to where we are today.
I'm telling you guys, I have the theory that this other woman is like the evil mastermind behind this entire message. It's like when Plankton went inside a SpongeBob and was controlling his body. I mean, you see this happen all the time with people. They get around someone who they would likely want to see themselves being like in the future. Okay, it's normally a person who's quite a bit older than them, and they pretty much just start adopting every single belief and kind of like the way that person acts. So I would not be surprised if that is what's going on here. Here they just kind of continue to shit on the original movie.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story. With a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. Super weird. So we didn't do that this time. It's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful.
And the crazy thing to me is, if she just would not have done these interviews and come off snarky about the original movie, she would not have all these critics talking about her. Like, I'm telling you guys, in the Disney community, this has caused like a major uproar. The Snow White franchise is obviously a highly coveted thing, and so for someone to come in who's directly working on the movie, okay, she's pretty much gonna make or break the film, and she's kind of shitting all over the original, I guess it just doesn't sit very well with all these Disney adults. This is a comment she made during those writer's strikes.
If I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And so people are also mad about that comment, saying like, oh, you should feel fortunate because you're making millions of dollars to act in a movie. But I want to know how you guys feel about this entire situation because, like I said, I don't really have a dog in this fight. What I will say is that sometimes you need to shut up, sit back, and let everything play out the way you kind of planned before you go out there and publicly talk your shit. And when it comes to something where tradition is involved, nostalgia is involved, I do think there should be like a certain level of respect that you have when you talk about those things. And so for her to come out and make these comments about the original film and about Disney in general was just a really stupid move. For those of you that do like Disney, that you do like Snow White, does this outrage you, or are you like, I don't really care? Either way, I do want to thank you guys for watching today's video, dropping a like and subscribing. But as you guys know, it's been your boy JAMARI Speaks, and some other Disney outrage out here needs to be covered, so I'm out. Peace!